Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm so sure you're having a wonderful day today. My name is David Ochin from DJT Concept, an award-winning IT training and development company in Africa. Today we're going to talk about a very special topic in our Cybersecurity Analyst course. We're talking about the history of cybersecurity. When we discuss the history of cybersecurity, there are many days to go back to check for the history, but we're looking at particular events that shape the cybersecurity industry. And we're going to look at two special cases of viruses or worms that were able to shape the industry today. In the cybersecurity world, attacks are constantly changing. But one thing that we should know is that they are not entirely new because there's nothing new under the sun. Basically, what happens is attackers decide to reinvent old tricks, or they just study and just manipulate old tricks to make it look like new. So they're not really doing anything new. It's just understanding what has happened before, understanding human nature, understanding how to take advantage of human nature. So basically, we're going to look at some of the key viruses that shaped the industry. The first to look at is the brain virus that happened in the year 1986. The brain virus shook the whole internet world because this was created by two brothers, the Harvey brothers in Pakistan. And they wanted to use to track pirated copies of their software. So they felt like, okay, how do we know if our software is being compromised? Let's create this software and run it through the computer. So it's going to run those days. They use floppy disk those days. So as you insert the floppy disk, it's going to scan through your files, and if it locates the virus, if it locates the pirated copy, it's going to crash down the system or slow the system down. So the main purpose was not to create a virus, but just a project to let us see how we can reduce the impact of pirated copies. But unknown to them, it went far beyond that, and then it created what we call the brain virus. Because once the virus enters into the system, it replaces some key parts in the floppy disk, and it actually, you can see it write the brain virus. So they even kept their phone number, that in case it has affected your system, just call us. So they didn't understand the impact of what they've done until they started receiving calls per day. Thousands of people calling them that, hey, my system is down, this and this and that, come and fix it. So when they have set it up and receiving so much calls in a day, they knew something bad had happened. So they had to come out that, oh, we didn't do this thing to actually affect systems. We just wanted to find a way to track illegal copies of our software. So rather than doing the thing intended for, it went beyond that, and it made most people's businesses to crash. People lost a lot of money in that day because the business became slow. It replaced essential parts of their system. The floppy disk was infected and all of that. So one thing we should learn from that is that sometimes some softwares can be created innocently, but they can go on and do some other effects. That's why these days security has been enhanced to handle such kind of situation, and we'll talk about some of the enhancement in security to handle things like that. The next we'll talk about is the Morris worm by Robert Morris in 1988. In 1988, the man Robert Morris created a software also, and this software was to crawl the entire web to know the number of computers that are currently on the web. It was just like a project for him, but little did he know that it's going to be a major problem that was going to close down so many businesses and cause millions of dollars in damages. This guy was a graduate or was a student of Harvard University, and he didn't actually intend it to be able to crash people's systems. He didn't intend it to be able to create slow pace in people's daily activities on the system. He just wanted to find a way to create a software that could be able to crawl around the internet and do a tally on the number of computers that we had that day. So this worm decided to infect systems and caused a whole lot of damage in a lot of people's systems. The Morris worm created so much impact in that day, and he didn't know that it's going to create as much impact on that. He just wanted to create something as a project that could just go around the world and tally the number of computers that we have. But it affected over 6,000 computers that day, which was like about 10% of computers that we have in the world, and businesses were crashed. When people found out, like, who is the guy that's causing all of these things? Although he went to hide and told his friend that, oh, this is what happened though, please, anyone that has a problem with this software, let him contact me, let me help him fix it. But it went out of hand, and he was arrested, and also in prison. But the good part of it is that he later came to apologize and worked together with the government on that day to see how they can create softwares to be antivirus and softwares to help in cybersecurity. So till this day, he is a professor and someone who is very helpful in the cybersecurity world. One thing we should learn from the attacks in the past is the fact that they were not intended to create harm to the system. They were not intended to create a malware. So what's a malware? Malware is something, a software that is created to intentionally disrupt the activity of a system. So a virus is an example of a malware. A software is intentionally created to create harm, destruction in the system operations. And then we'll talk about some of these malwares and viruses later. But for now, it's just to give you an introduction of what the history of cybersecurity is. At the beginning, where the computer was just a place to just people didn't care about securing their systems and their software. But when attacks that happened spread so fast within a couple of months, and even through just floppy disk, then they knew that, oh, we should create a system to stop some of these things. That's why they created the SAT, or that they CERTS, and SAT was able to now, it's an emergency response team that was able to come in to combat systems from being crashed by softwares like viruses and all of that. So it's very important to understand the history when it comes to cybersecurity, because history helps you to predict the future. I've always said it that the best way to understand the future is to understand history, because what attackers do is to modify, reinvent old tricks, and then they don't do something really new. They understand human behavior and try to see how they can exploit that.